Superyachts are highly evolved ships. Built with passion, dedication and skill, these vessels cruise the world, providing unrivaled comfort and style. Some showcase pioneering technology, others boast exquisite craftsmanship.
65 meters, 320 tons, mahogany, completely sealed in epoxy, 3-mast, 3-sail schooner.
In Superyachts, we reveal the tricks of this most glamorous of trades and introduce you to the people who make the dreams of the globe's richest tycoons come true. This is Superyachts. Urk, a former island next to Lake IJssel, is a busy town with the biggest fishing fleet and fish processing industry in the Netherlands. One of the country's oldest shipyards can be found here, run by the same family that founded it in 1764. The yard's main focus used to be the repair of wooden fishing boats. That all changed in 1932 with the completion of the Afsluitdijk. This famous dike was necessary to guard the Netherlands against floods, but it caused a huge decline in the Dutch fishing fleet. The family adapted and started to make hulls and private yachts. And then in 2004, they started to build superyachts. Balk is now at the helm of the company, making him the 7th generation to run the shipyard.
The beauty is always to work with people, our employees, the customers, and the combination between the project and everybody who's working around there.
The current fashion for ever larger yachts has forced the company to grow. They now have 3 slipways, and up to 130 people work at the yard on a daily basis. But it hasn't lost its family feel. Lots of relatives still work here.
Mijn moeder, Daan's vrouw Stella, tante, administratie en in de werkplaats nog een neef.
Ja, ik ben super trots op hem. Dat zeg ik ook elke keer tegen mensen. Dat ik echt zo trots was, juist waaraf hij toen hij 30 was en 1 keer ervoor stond en het moest doen. Ik hoop ook dat misschien de opvolgende nog komt. Maar ja, dat duurt nog wel even.
My father was even more personal involved, and he forgot about it that at the end of the day we have to run a business, and I feel that also as a responsibility for the whole company, that at the end of the month, of course, we have to earn some money to keep things going, and sometimes he was forgetting about that. Yeah.
The shipyard's latest project is the Mikhail Esperantsov, the biggest classic sailing ship in the world entirely made of wood. It's 65 meters long and 10 meters wide, classical on the outside and radical on the inside.
Esperantsov is unique because she's at the moment the largest wooden sailing yard. I think she's unique by the traditional way she's built.
The build started at a Turkish shipyard, but now the initiator and driving force of the project, Valery Stepanenko, wants the ship to be completed in the Netherlands.
Mr. Valery Stepanenko is a person who likes tradition, he likes the old way, and that's how this yacht is building, so that makes her quite special.
Меня интересовало в первую очередь яхты, которые были построены из ламинированной древесины. Я обнаружил, что в 50-х годах были построены по технологии ламинированная древесина минные тральщики для военно-морских сил Франции. И мы решили попробовать, что, возможно, у нас получится построить большего размера.
It's a complex project. Valery has huge ambitions for the yacht. The Mikhail Esperantsov will be a 3-master with 8 sails and a total sail surface of 1,500 square meters. Built for an anonymous owner who believes in Valery's vision.
Потом это яхта, о которой я очень долго мечтал в своей жизни. И я хочу, чтобы она реализовалась. И она реализуется.
Valeri has taken extraordinary steps to live his dream. He built a shipyard in Turkey, especially for the new yacht.
Меня часто задают вопрос, почему вы делаете то или иное. Я всегда отвечаю, мне очень интересно делать то, что никто еще не делал до меня. Такого размера никто за всю историю не строил, за историю человечества. И мне это интересно.
Building a ship from laminated wood requires special skills and huge amounts of materials.
Это древесина из Африки и из восстанавливаемого леса. То есть, когда его срезают, на его место садят новый лес.
But Valeri needs Dutch skills to finish his ambitious project. The heavy mahogany hull needs to be moved to the Netherlands. Towing the ship from Turkey to the shipyard in Urk will take 6 weeks. A logistical nightmare for Dan.
They bring her out of the shed on a pontoon, all the way till here in front of the shipyard, and there we unloaded her with 3 huge cranes, 2 800-tonners and a 500-tonner. We needed to lift her out of from the pontoon into the water, and then we lift her again with our own slipway out and transported her into the shed.
Now that the ship is in the shed, Dan can hardly hide his enthusiasm.
65 meters, 320 tons mahogany, completely sealed in epoxy, 3-mast, 3-sail schooner. At the moment we have special equipment in our shed with humidity that the wood is not starting to crack. But there's a special computer who does measurements 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to keep the humidity about 60% in the shed. Well, here we have a mock-up of the helm position. Here we can see what it finally should look like. This is a mock-up. We checked it with the owners, and they feel comfortable with this. So this is now ready for further engineering, and then things will be built accordingly. Biggest challenges, like with every boat, it's always too small. To have all the equipment inside, that's always the hard thing.
Preparations are made for the construction of the interior.
Het timmerbedrijf heeft de hele boot ingeschend en gaat vanuit die schend gaat ze bodemplaten maken. En op die puzzels wordt eigenlijk het interieur gebouwd en dat moet dan eigenlijk in één keer passen.
But the build of the Vorontsov has some particular challenges. The Turkish shipyard only focused on the main construction, which means some important details now have to be implemented afterwards. The portholes, for instance.
Het schip was helemaal dicht. Op de plekken waar de portholes komen te zitten heb je dus een massief stuk huid van 30 centimeter. En ja, dat is dan wel weer iets anders om te kijken van hoe krijgen we daar een gat in. En dan begin je in zo'n boot te zagen. Normaal heb je een aluminium carbon fiber boot. Dan weten we eigenlijk precies wat we moeten doen. En dit is wel heel erg uniek dat je op een gegeven moment een schip hebt van massief mahoniehout.
This is the woodwork, how the ship was brought with us. There is quite a lot of work to do, a lot of details. We have the margin planking, a lot of seams we have to correct.
Coming up, the team get a surprise visit from their demanding clients. A nerve-wracking experience.
He's more experienced to put the pressure on it that you're getting nervous or you're feeling uncomfortable.
The build of the world's largest wooden sailing yacht, the Vorontsov, has been moved from Turkey to the Netherlands. The solid wooden hull was constructed according to authentic building methods. But to raise the finishing work to modern levels, the ship needs serious modifications. So parts of the ship have to be torn down and rebuilt.
We hebben heel veel constructie moeten weghalen. We hebben in de machinekamer naar boven toe hebben we een stukje vloer weg moeten halen. Het trappenhuis naar beneden toe, naar de store. Want het heeft eigenlijk een benedenverdieping, de begane verdieping en het dekgedeelte. En daar hebben we hele vloerconstructies moeten weghalen en opnieuw erin moeten zetten.
The mounting plates for the massive masts are a crucial detail for a sailing yacht. 3 masts are due to be fitted on the 65-meter vessel. They have to be strong enough to hold 8 sails with a surface area of 1,500 square meters. The giant booms must look like they're made of solid wood. But if they really were, they'd be too heavy for this super yacht. In Blokzeil, 25 kilometers from the shipyard, an international team of specialists are creating the colossal masts and their booms. The aluminium masts are built in the Netherlands, but the booms will be made in France, from a mix of wood and ultra-light carbon fiber. A special technique is developed that creates a traditional look whilst concealing the high-tech material.
All the aluminium work, the masts are built in Holland, and this is the carbon fiber, our carbon fiber facility. And this is the place where the booms have been built.
First, a layer of wood is added to the mold, followed by several layers of carbon fiber. It's a difficult technique because the materials do not adhere, but it's the only way of achieving the effect. From the outside, the 17-meter-long boom looks like a regular wood construction, but because of the usage of carbon fiber, it's a lot lighter and stronger than regular wood.
If you want, it takes exactly the shape like the carbon. If you see, we have exactly the same surface. And it takes the same shape because there is some water in the wood at the beginning. We take out this water after because it's very bad for the structure and for the carbon.
Special about this boom is that it had to look like classic wood and had to be strong. So that's why carbon. The difficulty about this boom is getting the wood around the carbon. We had to go through a whole circle of developing the carbon boom system because you can apply the wood later. But for the future, that could create problems, so we had to invent a new system. And the guys here did an excellent job in creating the carbon wood structure. In practical, the wood is being part of the carbon. It's one. It's not glued later. The wood is the first layer of the carbon. I cannot tell you how it goes because it's a secret. Simple as that.
In the Netherlands, Valery Stepanenko pays the shipyard a surprise visit.
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Good work.
Morning.
Morning.
You like this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
really nice quality, and it was there.
Now we first have
It's been 3 months since he last checked up on the Vorontsov, and this time he's brought along his business partner. For Dan and his team, it's a rather unnerving surprise.
he used to run very large companies. He's more experienced to put the pressure on it that you're getting nervous or you're feeling uncomfortable. Sometimes it's hard and sometimes you don't sleep very well for the night.
Surprise inspections like these are often rigorous, and there is tension.
This mocker. This is
That's a mock-up.
Yeah, this is the highest position. It can also go lower.
Yeah, it's clear.
Open
Like this.
Да. Надо, чтобы когда открывалось, уже сразу с едой открывалось, напитками.
You have to think a little bit about that. When you will open, it must be champagne, etc. Immediately on the table, together with the open.
Yeah. We think if you are maneuvering, you have to stand here. Don't try it. Then you can see the ball.
Otherwise, you're gonna have this high step.
We have some discussion about the height from the deck. The stand is too low for seeing the bow, and if we make it too high, it's not convenient to step on. So we have now some discussion going on, which height do we make, 2 steps, 3 steps? Is it fine for them to stand on the bank? but we have to make them see what the problem is, and then most of the time they listen to us. You like it?
Not so bad. Nice idea.
Not bad at all.
Valeri wants bespoke wooden carvings on the stern and bow, but he still has doubts about the final design. Whether or not to have a crest and whether the carving should be intricate or more modest are the sort of decisions that weigh heavily on the budget.
This is everything to do with taste. Do you like it? Don't you like it? And they are still communicating they don't like it yet. It's what I picked up already, that we have to modify it once more.
I don't like.
But it has to be made out of massive teak wood, so it will be a very expensive piece. This is made by a special artist. He will work over a year about it almost. And all templates have to be made here. We have to mount it to the ship before we launch her. So this is already over the deadline. Yeah. Then you come to personal decisions, and it's not in our hands.
Я думаю, что мы поговорим позже. Я расскажу свои впечатления.
I think we will talk a little bit later and I will give full impression about my feeling.
Safety equipment is vital on board a ship. The sprinkler system is of great importance. It has to drench the compartments if there's a fire. Today, the freshwater storage tank is hauled into the yacht.
Laat de takel in de zakken. Ja.
Dit is de ultrafog tank. De ultrafog tank wordt gebruikt voor het brandblussysteem. Hij heeft een 4000 liter water. Als je ergens brand hebt, dan gaat er een sensor af. En dan benevelt hij de hut helemaal met zuiver water.
Safety measures have to be taken on every ship. But a wooden vessel like this needs extra precautions.
De wanden van de machinekamer zijn van staal. Daar ben je gewoon verplicht. En de romp wordt dusdanig afgeïsoleerd dat je ook op een A-klasse brandklasse uitkomt. Er worden ook speciale, wij hebben nu voor een houten boot hebben wij een plafondtest gedaan. Dat is in Italië gebeurd. En met die test hebben wij toestemming gekregen om op die manier het plafond, zeg maar, brandveilig weg te zetten.
There's finally agreement upon the design of the wood carving, so craftsmen have started work immediately. It will take about 2,000 hours to finish the ornate carving. No less than 20 layers of epoxy resin are used on the laminated teakwood veneer. This material is easier to bend along the ship's curves than solid wood.
Bij fatsoenlijk onderhoud is dit met gemak honderden jaren te conserveren. Scheuren kan het niet, verrotten kan het bijna niet. Dus al zou je slecht onderhoud plegen, dat is eigenlijk een beetje, hebben we rekening mee gehouden, dat je niet altijd een goed onderhoud kan plegen op zo'n groot schip. Dan nog moet het tegen een heleboel stoten kunnen. Ja.
Coming up, the Vorontsov appears to be overweight and is put on a scale. The entire ship has to be lifted in the air.
Als je mijn hartslag kon horen, dan gaat hij er echt wel een paar tienen omhoog.
Shipyard owner Balk is on his way to Genoa in Italy to inspect the MY Brazil, a 29-year-old yacht that has fallen into disrepair. It's in urgent need of a refit.
We fly with the private plane of the customers to MI Brazil. I have to get a feeling with it, what are they doing now, and is this something what's okay and safe to cruise with.
The new owners want to know if their ship is safe enough to cruise during the summer.
My expectations for today are first see all engines systems running, and I hope we have a good sea trial, and after that we go home at the end of the day.
The 40-meter yacht needs a refit, and Dan wants to find out what parts of the engineering have to be replaced. It doesn't look good, but the mechanics are working hard to get the ship ready for her sea trial.
Oh, er moet nog wel wat gebeuren voordat wij gaan varen.
We gaan ze biedt al eens eerst water vullen dan. Dan
Ja.
kunnen ze biedt al eens doen.
Maar jullie hebben hier denk ik nog wel een paar uurtjes werk aan, of niet? Want...
Ja, een uur of... Aan de motor zelf, een uur of 2.
Ja.
Schat ik in.
Dan uses the time before departure to assess the yacht.
Oh, well, as you can see, a lot of paneling on the ceilings have to be redone. We just take one apart to have a check what the actual situation is right now. Yeah. Now further, full paint job on the exterior. Here we see a lot of corrosion, but that's yeah. There are many examples why we have to take it out. Here, for example, by the windows. You see as well that here is a lot of corrosion coming out. So these windows have to be taken apart. As you can see, the teak deck is totally gone, so we have to replace teak on all decks. This is the brake of your anchor winch, but this gasket is loose from the stainless steel that need to be replaced, but even all the bearings are out, and many things for the, yeah, it's time for a big refit, and that's why we are here. Yeah.
In the Netherlands, it's time to put the solid wooden sailing ship the Vorontsov on the scale. It's vital to know the yacht's precise weight. This helps determine its center of gravity and exactly how deep it will sit in the water.
Het eerste wat we nu gaan doen is de boot gaan wegen. We hebben mensen die hebben de boot van tevoren helemaal gecalculeerd van wat wij verwachten dat hij nu gaat wegen. En ja, dan gaan we zo meteen dat ontdekken als het ook bij dat gewicht gaat naderen. Ik hoop het wel, want dan zijn we er sneller mee klaar.
Today, the team wants to find out if the ship's hull is still on target for an estimated weight of 301 tons. The ship is carefully prepared for the event.
Snij maar gewoon bij de poot af. Ja. En dan we gaan even kijken naar een blusser. Zullen we even een brandblusser bijpakken? Ja.
The yellow cradles that carry the vessel need to be able to lift off freely, so any obstructions are removed. Dock props are placed under the keel to level the ship.
Hij wordt tussentijds gewogen, daarom als wij eigenlijk nu willen weten van... we hebben er zoveel materiaal in gestopt en eigenlijk niet meer de grip hebben van... joh, waar zitten we nu? Zitten we nou op de 290 ton of zitten wij op de 350 ton? Het is wel belangrijk om te weten, om deze fase al... waar het gewicht zit en waar het middelpunt van het gewicht zit. Om inderdaad tijdens de bouw al rekening mee te houden... dat het schip zometeen mooi waterpas in het water ligt.
Hydraulic cylinders are placed under the yellow cradles. The cylinders only lift the cradles with the colossal ship in them a few centimeters off the ground, but this is just enough to weigh it.
Dat is toch altijd weer spannend. Het geluid wat we horen met het optillen vind ik sowieso al een naar geluid. Als je mijn hartslag kon horen net, dan gaat hij er echt wel paar tienen omhoog.
The Vorontsov weighs in at 306 tons, 1.5% more than the target weight. Architect Gill is worried this will prove to be too high, causing the vessel to lay too low in the water. But floor manager Henk is convinced it's safe.
Als het een ton was, Gill, had ik direct gezegd, jongen, je hebt gelijk.
Het gaat om het verschil. Het gaat niet om hoeveel.
De discussie met Gill was een discussie over de laatste grammetjes. Je hebt een tolerantie van zoveel procent en daar zaten we dik binnen. En dan is het op een gegeven moment de actie die gedaan wordt, die kostte ook allemaal centen.
Ik vind actie bouwen. Ja.
We gaan hem neerzetten. Gill die wou nog wel even door en voor mij was het klaar.
In Genoa, after a 2-hour delay, Dan and the crew of the Brazil are almost ready to leave for the sea trial. The refit will take 6 to 8 months, but the new owners hope to cruise this summer, which is just 2 months away.
Here we are going for sea trial, maybe 2 hours, and then we're coming back, okay?
They start the sea trial with an endurance test. The super yacht will sail at full blast for 2 hours.
Are we now starting up? And Yacht looks okay, but we have a big air fault in this installation. They're ready for takeoff now. We will see what's going on.
But the endurance test has to be cut short. There's a problem with the cooling system.
The white foam we see on the exhaust, that indicates that we have not enough coolant water. So that engine, we have not enough raw seawater. So we have to look at that one. And it becomes a little bit hot as well, but that proves that that is not okay.
The test proves beyond doubt that a refit is required. But as long as the yacht's not used for long journeys at sea at high speed, the owners can enjoy their yacht during the summer. In the Netherlands, the electrical system is installed on board of the Vorontsov. The energy usage should be as clean as possible.
The main switchboard is supplying energy throughout the ship. It supplies energy for the engine room locally, and it has the main power to the distribution board in the foreship and the distribution board in the aft ship. But it's looking at the power demand of the system and decides whether to start a generator or get power from the battery or have two generators on. Yeah, complex system. Here we have the main switchboard. We have a generator over there and on the other side as well. What we do, if we run a generator for, let's say, the generator has a capacity of 100 kilowatts and the demand on the ship is 50 kilowatts, then we use the 50 kilowatts which the generator can deliver to charge the batteries. That way we burn fuel efficiently. When there's more energy demand on board the ship, we can use the energy stored in the batteries to contribute to the power of the generator. That way we have a very nice efficiency. Yeah.
For the electrical system too, this is a project of large numbers.
Well, we have engineering, that's a couple of thousand of man-hours designing the system. Work on board is about roughly 10,000 working hours. We have about 80 kilometers of cable throughout the whole ship. And the power that we can distribute is 180 kilowatts.
The Vorontsov will have her own wine cellar, a technical challenge given the unpredictability of the sea, the fragility of glass, and the value of the vintages.
The wine cellar is completely custom-made, due to the fact that we had to make it completely in the shape of the hull of the ship. The wine cellar is at the bottom part of the ship, and that's being designed in that area because there we have the least movement in the ship and in the wine cellar to preserve the wines.
For 8 full months, 3 people have been working exclusively on the SuperYachts wine cellar. It will be a special feature of this ship, storing 300 bottles. Not only does it keep the wine at the correct temperature, it holds the bottles in place even when the ship makes the sharpest of turns.
The biggest challenge was to get the boxes in when the ship was in the beginning of construction. The wine cellar is made for 150 bottles of white wine, 150 bottles of red wine. Very undeep trays, where the bottles are stored under an angle of 15 degrees, and the trays are very narrow to each other. This will make sure that the bottles will stay in the trays even when the ship is in big movements.
Rigging and navigation equipment of the Vorontsov are incorporated in the masts. And when the 8 sails are not in use, all 1,500 square meters of them can be rolled up in the aluminium construction.
So this is the mast already being in a very finished stage. The profile is built up in 2 extrusion sections. You see, if you have a good look to this one, there's a welding here, and there's this section here and this section here. So it's a mirror of each part. The most important thing inside this profile is the reinforcement, the engineering thinking about it to take all the forces from the stays, from the spreaders. So what you see there on the outside is not only on the outside, it's completely fixed to the inside as well. So it's completely engineered to take the loads. The difficulty of this profile as well is to keep it straight. It's a plate folded section with 2 extrusion pieces, with all the equipment welded inside, a lot of welding, a lot of heat, which is making the mast going in everywhere. I will normally say, like for each mast, we need the time like delivering a baby. So it will take 9 months. So in this respect, we're talking about 3 babies, which is 2 years, at least.
The height of the masts can limit where you sail. If they're too tall for the Panama Bridge, you're in for a long voyage around Cape Horn. These masts will be 50 meters high, small enough to sail the Panama Canal, but they don't come cheap.
If it's a normal shape profile, then we're talking about different figures than the front of, with all the plate folded pieces and the reinforcement there. And then you're talking about getting close to $500,000 a mast at least, without the rigging.
The construction of the lightweight booms is finished, and they have arrived from the factory in France.
Okay, from the mast to the masted pieces, like to these booms, which appears to look like wood, but this is carbon wood. This is a difficult process, but they came out with a very nice finish.
Giant masts can exert all kinds of forces on the body of the boat, running up to 600 tons. The potentially damaging effect of these forces is kept to a minimum by using large stainless steel plates that spread the stress across a wide surface area.
At the moment, I think the limits are moved way ahead of us. They are designing projects of 100 meters with a sloop, which will have a mast of at least 110 meters. So the limits are just there to be challenged.
Coming up, the world's largest classic wooden sailing yacht is ready to be launched. And the 50-meter masts are ready to be placed.
Stop.
But will they fit? Work on the 62-meter mahogany schooner Mikhail Esperantsov is progressing. The engine room is nearing completion. The chiller unit for the air conditioning has to be lifted into its right spot. Placing large units like this is a delicate operation. The team doesn't want to cause any damages to the wooden structure of the ship.
De grote luik erboven, dat was wel goed, maar de andere luik hebben we kleiner gemaakt. Ja, past hij daardoor?
Dat geeft een beetje het probleem dat wij hem heel erg moeten kantelen. Ja. En daarom hebben wij er nou ook takels tussen hangen, zodat wij hem zo recht mogelijk naar beneden kunnen laten glijden. Maar ja, dit is best wel spannend natuurlijk. Ja.
De machinekamer die is van tevoren al helemaal ingemeten op de engineering. Het is heel belangrijk dat je dus daar een systeem in hebt. Want zou je willekeurig dingen gaan monteren, dan zie je straks dat bepaalde componenten er niet eens in kunnen. Dus wij moeten eerst een plan maken van dat eerst. En nou, gezien de ruimte in dit schip is het heel belangrijk dat we dat van tevoren coördineren. Ook met name het leidingwerk op de achterwanden. Want als de unit daar zit, kom je er niet meer bij.
To cram all this technology into a very limited space, you need 3D modeling. The entire ship is measured accurately by lasers. After that, everything is drafted out in detail. Finally, the planned equipment is positioned and connected.
Nou, dan gaan we weer.
Hier wel uitkijken met...
Ja, gaat goed. Ja. Dat draaien we makkelijk voorbij.
Het is hier enorm krap. Je moet je voorstellen dat alles, voortstuwing, elektra, de airco, de pompen, wordt allemaal in deze ruimte geïnstalleerd. En normaal gesproken heb je dan iets meer ruimte. Maar omdat dit een doorgang is, een corridor heeft, ben je dus ook een heleboel ruimte in het middenschip kwijt. Dus vandaar dat het dus allemaal echt passen en meten is. Ja, dat ging perfect. ja, het moet wel rustig gebeuren, maar het ging uitstekend. Niks beschadigd, dus daar gaat het om.
Everybody works hard to meet the deadline for the launch. The masts can only be placed once the ship has left the shed. But weather conditions make it difficult to meet the schedule.
Stepping the mast for this project has an extra dimension because weather conditions in Holland are changing by the day, I almost would say by the hours.
A long and icy winter sabotages the team's efforts, and the launch has to be postponed. There's no other option than to wait for an early spring. Five months later than planned, the yard can finally prepare everything for the launch. But the delay hasn't influenced the team's spirit.
Ja, dat heeft een combinatie met dingen die nog net niet klaar zijn. Ze waren ingevroren, dus we konden niet naar buiten toe. En dan pak je het in januari pak je het weer opnieuw op. En dan wordt het eigenlijk, is iedereen weer fris en monter. En dan gaan we een nieuwe datum pakken, dan gaan we het water in.
At the last minute, the anonymous Russian owner of the Vorontsov has decided to attend the launch. And he insists on inspecting the inside of the yacht before the ship leaves the shed. But the interior is made damage-proof, so the team is working frantically to remove all those protective layers of plastic and cardboard. Meanwhile, Hank prepares the highlight of the launch.
We maken de flessenwerper eigenlijk klaar. Dit is het schafot waar het champagnefles tegen aangegooid wordt. Dus zonder de boot te beschadigen. Als het schip naar buiten gaat, ga je weer een nieuwe fase in. Dan gaan zometeen de masten erop en dan wordt het echt een zeilbootje. Ja, dat is toch altijd wel leuk. Op een vijfde deel ongeveer. Laat hem eens los. Pof.
The woodwork of the ship was finished on time.
Ja, het houtsnijwerk is hartstikke mooi geworden. Er is inderdaad ontiegelijk veel uren in weggesneden. Vervolgens is alles geschilderd. Dus ja, je ziet niet zoveel meer van het hout. Maar goed, dat zie je ook niet van het schip, want die is ook helemaal wit geschilderd. Dus wij weten dat het gewoon echt houtsnijwerk is. En de eigenaar is daar ook zeer tevreden over dat het ook met hout gebeurd is en niet met kunststof. Ja, wil je even kijken als dat past? Dat hij hier achter blijft haken?
Ja, dan moet ik even een mesje hebben dat dit weg is.
Het is er klaar voor. Hij mag van mij het water in.
The moment has come to tow the Vorontsov out of the shed.
Er ligt niks voor de wagentjes. De rails ook gecheckt. Ja, en we hebben alles vet. Alleen de trap nog en dan kunnen we trekken.
After 18 months of hard work, the 500-ton wooden ship is ready to show herself.
Daylight for the first time for her. Yeah, yeah. It was an exciting moment. If you plan things like that, you can have a stormy day and so. Circumstances are perfect as well. I think we will be fine.
В жизни немного важных дней бывает каждого человека. Но сегодня как раз тот день, когда мне очень волнительно и в то же время очень радостно. Я давно мечтал о такой яхте, что когда-то она реализуется. Последние 6 лет эта яхта была в моей голове, в моих руках, в моих делах. И сегодня этот день для меня очень значим.
Now that the ship is out of the shed, the team has to move her towards the water. This is done with a special ramp car. But moving a ship of this size and weight is never an easy job. There are a few lumps in the ramp car's railway, so caution is required.
Hij is bijna over het hobbeltje in, of niet? Ja, daar hebben we er geen last meer van. Nou, alleen hier zo bij het water nog een hobbeltje zitten. Doe maar heel voorzichtig eroverheen en dan moet het goed gaan.
But all goes well, and even the baptizing of the ship is a smooth operation. Almost.
Ja, super. De enige waar ik me eigenlijk zorgen onder maakte, als die fles maar kapot gaat. Ja, de rest is gewoon eigenlijk, ja, daar ben je al dagen mee bezig. Maar zo'n fles heb je niet onder controle, dus daar zat ik vanmorgen eigenlijk een klein beetje overheen. Top.
More applause and proud faces as the Vorontsov hits the water for the very first time. But there's another important step to take before she's a true sailing yacht. A week later, the team gathers at the harbour to step the masts. The Vorontsov gets 3 50-metre masts and a bowsprit, in total weighing no less than 27 tons, rigging included.
Wij gaan vandaag de laatste 2 masten erop zetten. We hebben gisteren de bowsprit en de voormast erop gezet. En vandaag is de bedoeling dat de mainmast en de mizzenmast erop gezet worden. Alle voorbereidingen hebben we daarvoor getroffen, dus ik ga ervan uit dat het weer net zo leuk gaat als gisteren.
To successfully complete an operation like this, preparation is everything.
I would say the most difficult part is making sure that you thought of everything and not forget anything. Because once you're going up, you can't get to it anymore. That's why we check everything at least 2 or 3 times. Because when it comes down with a big bang.
2 200-ton cranes are needed to lift the 8-ton masts. The smaller crane helps to lift the mast horizontally and to control the tilt. The main crane has to give the mast enough height to place it on board the ship. It's very important that the main lifting strap is kept straight and stable at all times. They can't risk the mast swinging.
You can imagine if part of the mast is already in the ship and for whatever reason the top, the crane or waves make it move, then the bottom will start moving. And that can do a lot of damage because it won't stop. You'll have 7 ton going around in an extreme luxury yacht and that's not good.
It's crucial that the mast foot fits perfectly onto the mounting plate. Despite meticulous calculations, there's never a guarantee that it won't encounter any obstructions.
You have 2 systems that never meet up and you bring them together and it has to fit. So you test everything bit by bit, but at the end, you never know if you will really succeed that day.
The mast is carefully lowered into the ship, but there's a problem.
Stop. Pas op, vinger weg, ik ga niet zo hoog. Dat is dat.
Ja, die ring die moet er even tussenuit, dus ik moet even iets omhoog.
Oké.
Ik moet deze 2 ringen er tussenuit hebben.
The ring hiding the shaft for the main mast is too narrow.
We gaan dan uit van alleen maar de mastvoet. Maar er hangt dan toch wel wat hydrauliekslangen, wat kabels aan. En dat maakt het toch altijd weer wat groter dan dat we verwacht hadden. Dus ja, nou, dit stukje komt eruit, want daar komt zometeen de mooie afgewerkte ring weer overheen. Dat ziet niemand. Onder de mainmast komt er nog een speciale munt te liggen. Officiële gedeelte. Bij elke zeilboot wordt er wel een munt ondergelegd voor een, denk ik maar, een behouden vaart en veel geluk.
Jongens, allemaal vinger weg.
Once the main mast is placed and secured, the same procedure is repeated for the mizzen mast, the rear mast of the 3. And at the end of the day, the Vorontsov is the proud sailing ship she was intended to be.
Trots. Ik ben trots op zijn power. Dus, het is hartstikke mooi. Het is allemaal hartstikke leuk verlopen. Dus ja, hier en daar heb je natuurlijk wel je tegenslagen. Hebben we heel goed kunnen opvangen. Het scheepje ligt er nu hartstikke mooi bij. Ja, het is voor mij ook fantastisch, want dit is het eerste houten jacht wat ik ook heb mogen meehelpen bouwen. En ik denk dat het fantastisch is. Super.
And Valeri already has plans for a new build.
Да, мы сейчас работаем, уже строим судно 141 метр из древесины. Это будет очень фантастическая яхта, чего никогда не делал никто вообще в жизни человечества.
That's the future. Today, the Mikhail S. Vorontsov is the largest all-wooden classic sailing yacht in the world.